So, Kirby's Dreamland 2, 3, and 64 all runs a sort of trilogy. I know it's been over a year since I last talked about Dreamland 2, but it has come back for this review. Only a little bit, though. Still, at least I knew about this game beforehand. I saw advertisements for it here and there, and I definitely wanted it, but I ended up way too busy with Donkey Kong Country 3 and the N64. Sadly, by the time Dreamland 3 did come out, I was already done with my SNES, traded, very tragically, for the newest Nintendo console by the time this game came out. Oops! All things considered, though, I eventually got to play this with the fantastic Kirby's Dream Collection in the Nintendo Wii. First impressions? It was okay. Like, if you took Dreamland 2, fixed some of the problems, and made some different issues, you know, that kind of okay. That being said, I did initially enjoy it more than Dreamland 2. If you recall, I disliked Dreamland 2. I thought at the end of the day the game is okay and has merit, but at the end of the day I still don't recommend it very highly. More like I'd tell people about it, maybe not fully recommend they avoid it. The game works in some places and does better in others, but it is unfortunately held back by a lot of issues. Now, Dreamland 3 is a lot like Dreamland 2, but slightly better from what I can recall. I don't seem to carry too many memories outside of some of the gameplay features. I guess it's time to dive back in and see what I forgot. Let's do it. Let's take on Zero! So the story begins and suddenly dark matter attacks again. This time, not content with some silly rainbow islands, dark matter takes over all of Popstar, corrupting the planet. Now it is up to Kirby and his animal buddies, both new and old, to defeat dark matter. He has possessed King Dedede again and plans on ruling Dreamland. Now, this story is pretty standard, which is possibly better than what happened in Kirby's Dreamland 2. At the same time, it's exactly the same as Dreamland 2. Not that repeating stories is uncommon in platformers, but it's uncommon in Kirby games, especially since this is the first time that happens in the previous 4 games. I mean, it still works, dark matter has certainly upped his game, but this doesn't stop this from being a retread of Dreamland 2, even down to the animal buddies and possessing King Dedede. However, there are plenty of differences with the game as well. First thing, the art style. I get that the Game Boy game is going to use most of the same assets from the original Dreamland. However, when it comes to getting put on a console, and late in the console's lifespan, this game looks fantastic. And, well, you can see the footage. This game looks like crayon drawing and it is amazing. Like, honestly, it's really impressive all things considered, especially considering the lack of a special chip. Yeah, this crayon drawing thing was kind of done with Yoshi's Island, but they needed a Super FX chip back then for this. For here? Nope. Yeah, the colors are slightly more faded. Still looks great though, and the music is chipper as can be. Although I'm not gonna lie, I may be biased for my Kirby 64 experience. Yeah, a lot of these tunes were reused in the next game in the series, which to be fair isn't this game's fault, I played them out of order. Still, I think the OST works in some regards. Nothing I'd listen to outside of the game except for some remixes of tunes from other Kirby games. Yeah, some of this OST is borrowed as well. Either way, the music works and the graphics are amazing. This game looks and sounds pretty dang good, all things considered. So when it comes to the copy abilities, Kirby basically has the same exact copy abilities as he had in Dreamland 2. There's one new one, and despite how dumb it sounds, it's one of my favorite abilities. I honestly wish it would come back. Yes, the new ability is Broom. Kirby just sweeps away his enemies. This is the only new ability he gets from the jump from Dreamland 2 to Dreamland 3. All the other copy abilities are here though, and the animal buddies returning from Dreamland 2 have added several more buddies to their roster. Rick, returning from Dreamland 2, is pointless outside of that one time he wall jumps, but some levels are outright impossible with Rick. He's slow, pointless, and I don't even like his copy abilities if I'm going to be honest. Koo isn't nearly as fast or as powerful with his copy abilities, but even tuned down, Koo is still a very useful animal buddy, even in places he is at a disadvantage. Kind is much better, however. Land speed and abilities aren't such a sour note, making him less situational, and his abilities mostly make him like a gun, giving him range. Starting with the new guys, Nago is a cat that is just a better version of Rick. He has a nice double jump, faster, and his copy abilities are no slouch despite some of them being close range. Choo-Choo is a slimy octopus who has a nice jumping ability and can climb on ceilings, which isn't as nice as flying, but she can do that with a broom anyway, so there you go. Lastly, Pitch can fly, is fast, and while his copying abilities are hard to control and somewhat situational, they are mostly the long-range variety. While his abilities aren't the best, he's faster and he can fly, just not as well as Coo. Combining abilities with animal buddies is part of the fun, and this is just entertaining and rewarding here. Unless you need Rick, sadly. Regardless of which animal buddy you have, though, this level design is the basic of basic. Seriously, this is some of the more forgettable levels in the entire series up to this point. I just played the game and I still can't remember most of these levels. Some are more memorable, of course, but even then, they're not anything special. The boss fights are a bit more up to snuff, however. Wispy Woods is so corrupt, he begins walking and shooting poison. There's this cool killer whale fight, a painter, which is the funnest fight in the game, in my opinion, and even the possessed King Dedede, who floats and opens his stomach like Pac-Man after his first phase. These boss encounters are great, even if some of the levels are really boring. Not bad exactly, just dull most of the time. However, luckily for the players, there is a side quest in every level. These side quests aren't as fun as they sound though, trust me. Each level has you doing specific quests in all the levels. The first level has you helping plants of some type while trying to not squash them. And then there's a level where you play a minigame. In every single world, that one specific level has you playing a minigame halfway through. And then there's one level where you find things in each world. This means you have to play every level in a specific way to get everything. This literally replaces the traditional puzzles of the game. If you want any depth from these levels, you have to go after the side quests in an effort to get the Heart Star from the character you're helping. Once again, some of these are really fun, and there's other Nintendo references like slaying Metroids for Samus or putting together Rob, as well as some Japanese exclusive characters. Still, this gets tedious very early on, and some of the levels, while not nearly as taxing as the Rainbow Shards, thank goodness, these puzzles can still be a lot of guesswork without some type of guide. Regardless, this is the only way you're going to fight the true final boss, Dark Matter. Yeah, after you defeat King Dedede, if you have all the Heart Stars, you purified the land enough to fight the final boss. After Kirby defeats Dark Matter, the real final boss appears. The creator of Dark Matter named Zero shows up, hence the boost in power Dark Matter had. This boss fight is terrifying for something as cute as Kirby, as the boss literally bleeds at you in a very gruesome manner. After you defeat the monster, you get the true ending. I will say that this boss fight is pretty dang good overall, though. Overall, Kirby's Dreamland 3 is a good game. The main issues is the level design is very forgettable, the story is easily forgettable, and the Heart Stars are tedious to collect. Nothing exactly bad in this game, but the lower parts of this game can be seen as very boring, and sometimes that's far worse. Still, what the game does well is pretty good. That's a 7 out of 10 if you're wondering. However, and this is the biggest issue, this is the Super NES. There's already another Kirby game on the Super Nintendo, released a year before this one, and is considered much better overall. Heck, I rated it better overall. This game isn't talked about much in the grand scheme of Kirby games, and this is most likely why. It's overshadowed by the Kirby game from the year before. Kirby Superstar, if you're wondering. It's bound to happen. Superstar was directed by Kirby's creator, Sakurai, aka Mr. Smash Brothers himself. Still, this game isn't terrible by any means and could be worth a look. It isn't mind-blowing, no, I'm aware, but if you have the means, I'd try it out. It's still on the Switch Online service after all. But that's all the time I have for now. If you like the video, comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And until next time, my minions, take care.